1. Hello, everyone. I have something in my hand that is taken over the world. It is a cell phone. Some call it a weapon of mass instruction, or a weapon of mass destruction and disengagement, or a little box of kryptonite that eats away at teachers and their classroom management. Today, I'm going to be speaking on TikTok brain, social media, and reclaiming the habits of attention of a whole generation of kids. TikTok took over the world at the end of the pandemic, and we're beginning to see the results of that. This group of teens with their heads down, focused entirely on the cell phone, is how every teacher spends most days, trying to win back the attention of kids from their tiny devices. These are, in fact, designed for distraction, not for educational purposes. Banning cell phones has become a huge public issue, but it's really just a temporary respite, because the bigger problem is the way the cell phone has intruded into the lives of teachers, students, and schools. It is a battle that we're waging now in each and every school across North America and far beyond. It's what Doug Lemoff described in Teach Like a Champion as trying to fight to establish habits of attention for kids. This session focuses on the whole question of TikTok brain and reclaiming today's generation of kids. The social media phenomenon has cast a huge shadow on the education world. And there's a mental health crisis that is being discussed in every country in the world. And San Diego State University psychologist Jean Twenge has been the first to alert us to the dangers of what was going on. And she raised an alarm bell back in 2017 on National Public Radio. She said that the cell phone was a contributing factor in the mental health crisis facing our children, youth, and all those in the generation on the rise. She also said that there's no question that the two are related: the spread of the cell phone addiction, social media, and mental health problems for kids. There's also been a seismic shift in teen social life. And I won't go into a tremendous amount of detail, but I'll simply say this, that every indicator of mental health and psychological well-being has become more negative among teens and adults since 2012. That's not me. That's Jean Twenge, writing in her new book, Generations, published in 2023. The trends are stunning in their consistency, breadth, and size. The cell phone has taken over education, and it has become the primary means of not only distraction, but frustration and exasperation on the part of teachers. We also see signs of a growing mental health crisis, and it's associated intimately with the smartphone. Do you not find it ironic that the smartphone was supposed to make us smarter, but it's actually made it more difficult to reach kids in the schools? And it all started, of course, with the invention of the iPhone in 2007. It's come to dominate everything. And the impact has been documented by the Pew Research Center and by Jean Twenge and Common Sense Media. Social media was like a nuclear bomb on teen social life. That's not me. That's Chris Said from Princeton, who was a data scientist who described the impact that it's having on our youth. Let's look at the impact of the school shutdowns in Canada. This is a very, very well-known map, and it shows the number of school days lost during a 16-month period at the height of the pandemic in Canada. And from province to province, we see just how much school was missed. And what were kids doing? They were at home, and they were becoming even more absorbed in the world of cyberspace and social media. We see the consequences of it right now. You've read stories, I'm sure, and been aware of the documented cases where mental health professionals and social scientists have said the kids are not all right. And it is connected with the being out of school, being on their own, socially isolated, and finding solace in the machine. It's had the snowball effect. Now we've got a combination of factors, of which cell phone addiction is one of them. But it's by no means exclusive, because we've got chronic student absenteeism. By the definition before the pandemic, about 40% of all kids are chronically absent now. We've had to change the definition to lower the percentage of missed days because we've broken all bounds. What's happened is student absenteeism has become normalized across Canada and the United States. We also have evidence of school violence and regular low-level school disruptions, and every class is interrupted. In fact, the OECD found that the class interruptions are causing a disruptive effect on school climate. And right at the center of it all is these cell phones. And I want to talk a little bit about the condition. Because yes, we now have a clinical condition. It's been identified, tick-tock brain. That's the cell phone absorption and addiction. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal, feature article, which had this picture of the brain showing the impact of the speed with which little videos flick by and how everyone started to talk faster, and even teachers, to maintain the attention of kids, have to talk a lot faster than ever before. Because what's happened is tick-tock brain makes it seem like your teacher is talking in slow motion. And that is one of the challenges teachers have. It's had a profound impact on students' near total fixation with cell phones. And not only that, it's not just in class, but it's between classes, on the way to class, and in fact, it's evident when they are walking into traffic on the way to school and not even noticing that anything is coming along the road. Well, I've been talking a lot in generalities. Let me show you the data, because researchED is all about bringing evidence to bear on major social issues. So let's take a look at the data we have. Look at the escalation in the use of social media during the period from 2015 to 2021. You can see for the two age levels here, the teens and tweens, look at the growth, and that's the number of hours per day that kids are on their devices. And that's significant. You read it right. That's 8 hours and 38 minutes and 5 hours and 33 minutes for the younger children. Now, is this transportable to Canada? We have probably lower rates of daily use, but in northern Canada and in rural and small towns, it's at least that high because kids are spending more and more time on their devices. Now, you might think, well, so what? Doesn't matter because they're in school and they're being taught. Well, let's look at how they're being used in school. How is technology being used on a regular school day? You saw it right. 32.3% of the time the media is being used, it's kids looking at social media, Snapchat, and other popular things, TikTok. YouTube, they're looking at YouTube videos, 25.7% of the school day. They're gaming, 17.3% of the school day. They're streaming video, 5.4%. Wait a minute. Educational purposes, 1.4% of class time is used using these devices for educational purposes. Now, you might say this is general data. How does it relate to me, to my local school area, and what can we make of this? Well, we do happen to have a study from New Brunswick I'm going to share with you. Came out 2 weeks ago, and it shows the social media absorption and teen mental health in New Brunswick in the most recent year, 2022 to 23. And while the percentages of social media time in New Brunswick aren't that dramatic. It shows, for example, that social media absorption is about 61.5%. That's how much the kids are absorbed in it in New Brunswick, of the percentage of the time. But it's as high as 70% in northern communities and rural communities. The lowest rate of use of social media is actually in the cities, where kids have more things to do. So you might say, why is this a concern? Well, the New Brunswick Council for Health thought it was enough of a concern that they highlighted it in their most recent report. And we can look here to see just how it's affecting the kids. And in fact, there's social media absorption, and it's dramatic. I won't go through the details. Suffice it to say, we have a challenge on our hands. It began with the absorption in social media, and now it's become part of the mental health issues that we're facing. So, what's the solution? researchED is all about identifying public issues that have an impact in education and taking a look at what the evidence says and trying to apply the evidence to finding a way out of the challenges we face for teaching and learning. And that's what this session is essentially about. How do we reclaim time for teaching and learning and win back the kids who we've lost to the cyberspace and, in fact, cell phone addiction? Now, some would say that the solution is to ban cell phones. And in fact, cell phones were banned in France, the Netherlands, France 5 years ago, Netherlands, in 9 states in the United States, and there's an increasing number of places, Australia, parts of the United Kingdom. And the latest is Quebec. Cell phones have been banned in the schools of Quebec. So is it a solution? Obviously, the kids are spending too much time on their cell phones, and it's interfering with their teaching and learning. And it certainly has destroyed any concept of concentration and attention. Banning or severely restricting cell phones in classrooms is really just a quick fix. It doesn't really address the problem. You could argue that it's the beginning of addressing the post-pandemic struggle to foster what Teach Like a Champion author Doug Lemoff said was habits of attention, and to win back today's generation of students. As one Cincinnati pediatrician said, if you want kids to pay attention in class, you need to practice paying attention, not practice on your cell phone, and practice inattention, and the consequences follow. Tom Bennett, the founder of researchED, is someone that's well known for introducing a way of dealing with all kinds of issues like this. And Tom is very, very well known for a number of sources, which I'm going to show you. One of them is Running the Room, his most recent book. Essentially, it comes down to this. Classroom teachers today cannot compete in a revved-up world driven by mobile electronic devices and steady streams of flickering videos. Truly getting to the root of the problem will require what UK behavior specialist Tom Bennett, founder of researchED, aptly terms creating a culture and changing fundamentally the nature of engagement in the classroom. That's what we have as a challenge ahead of us. Well, how does it begin? How do we begin to turn around our schools to create a culture? Let's look at this illustration from Tom Bennett's report in 2017. He was asked by the UK government to do a study, and he came up with this. First and foremost, we need leadership, school leadership. We need to make decisions. We need to essentially establish that effective teaching only occurs when classrooms are calm, when kids know what's expected, and when they are prepared to cooperate. And there needs to be based on mutual respect. And that is a long way off because we've got many classrooms today where there's regular disruptions and lots of challenges facing our teachers. we're pro-teacher. We want to give teachers a lot of support so that they can come to terms with what's on. What is first and foremost needed is visible school leadership. Principals and leaders have to be out there visibly demonstrating what it is to be effective, productive, and visible. And that's the kind of school you need to establish. And you can see the ways in which that can happen. And these are the points on the slide of the key components of creating a culture. One thing it doesn't say is we shouldn't be continuing with our current policy, which is called positive behavior supports, because that rewards kids often for misbehaving as opposed to dealing with the issue. So positive behavior supports is not the answer. What we need is creating a culture where there can be calm, productive, and cooperative classrooms. It's a bigger issue. It's not a matter of discipline. It's part of the whole school culture. It used to be called an effective school, and what are the characteristics of it? This is not new. It's been around for 30 or 40 years. When you look at trying to reclaim the school first, then reclaim the kids, it's in that order. So Tom Bennett has discussed what are, classroom disruptions, for example, are like kryptonite to teachers. You're starting to teach a lesson, and you find you can't hold the attention of kids, and there are disruptive things. Low-level disruptions are the biggest problem in school. Kids getting up, walking around. Many schools, it's said, look like McDonald's. In other words, you can move from table to table, no one says anything, and the assumed, have you heard the phrase, all noise is positive? No, it's not. All noise is not positive. A lot of it's unproductive and disruptive to teaching and learning. So Tom has shown us that there's an iceberg. What you see and what's below the surface are two different things. There's also a critical thing. We need visible leadership, clarity. We also need to communicate clearly what this school stands for and to be explicit about that. So, and in order to carry this out for whole school change, it involves a design of a new model, involves building that new culture, and then sustaining that new culture. And the last part is very important. Nothing really matters if it's not sustainable in education. So what's essentially my message today? My message is this, that social media absorption has taken away from teachers a lot of the authority and the enjoyment of teaching. That mobile phones and cell phone addiction are making it next to impossible to reach students. And I think finally, we need to take a fundamental look at schools and how they run in order to come to grips with this. And I want to show you the research upon which this is based. These are the key sources that I used in putting together this presentation. Why should you listen to me? I think you should listen to the kids, watch what's going on in schools, and take a hard look at whether we don't need to make some fundamental changes. I'd like to say thank you for joining me today. I'm very easy to reach. In fact, some of you know I'm EduChatter on Twitter. But if you would like to contact me, here is the information. I hope to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today. Bye for now.